everyone, Ben from Zen with Ben here, and today I'm talking with my friend Tree Stoddard, who's a Santa Fe-based Reiki and Sound Practitioner. I'm excited for everyone to join us. It's also my first time using Ecamm Live, so I appreciate everyone's flexibility as I kind of work my way through this. If you have any comments or questions for Tree as we go through, I should be able to access those. So if I'm acknowledging comments, we're doing great. If I don't acknowledge anyone's, then that went awry. But as it goes in a meditation practice, you control what you can, you let go what you can't. And so we're all going to work together on this process. But I'm excited to bring some sound practitioners together. I'm finding as I get further into this, my career and into this industry, that we're all kind of isolated pockets of mindfulness and sound, strategically placed, I think, around the globe. But I'm looking forward to bringing in different practitioners to chat a little bit more about the practice and how they connected with sound and how they're doing and what they're working on and all those wonderful things. So let me show you what we're doing today. So this is my good friend Tree. There she is. And Tree's from Stoddart in Spain. And by the way, look how incredibly beautiful this city is that she's from. So while I love northern New Mexico, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk with Tree today, is because I'm from southern New Mexico and she's up in Santa Fe. If you're not very familiar with New Mexico, they're actually quite different in the way that the culture and the climate and things. But look where she's from. Look how pretty. So you've got this beautiful blue Atlantic water. You've got the mountains in the background there. This very Spanish chateau. I don't know what ¿Cómo se dice chateau? I don't remember. Large casa, I guess, right? Casa Grande? No, that's also Arizona. So beautiful. And so here's Tree in her element. So she's got her beautiful chow gong, it looks like, behind her there, and a ton of fantastic Himalayan singing bowls, and I can't wait to discuss this with her. And she's also got some beautiful photos of her as a gong ninja. That is a fierce sound practitioner there. So I am very excited to bring Tree on. So if you have any questions for us, shoot them on over. You can also follow Tree at Tree Stoddard on the Instagrams. And if you're on my Instagram as well, you'll see a lot of my stuff linked back to her too. And so if I do this right, I think we can bring her on. So everyone, let's welcome Tree on with much applause.
Hello.
Fantastic. Hi, Tree. Thanks so much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me today. This is very exciting.
Isn't it? Well, I'm glad you're excited about it. I have no idea how this will go, but I think we're going to do fine.
Yeah, I'm trying to see where is the broadcast. I couldn't see any of the photos that you were sharing.
Oh, I think it's on Facebook Live, and if you try to log into Facebook, I can put them back up for you. This will be a great experiment with the Ecamm.
Yeah, it totally feels like an experiment. Where I don't know where it is, but I'll see it later.
Yeah, exactly. So we're recording, and we can save this video too. So how are you today?
Wonderful. It's a wonderful quarantine day. Shiny, beautiful blue skies in New Mexico.
Oh yeah, I love the skies in New Mexico. It's one of my favorite things about there. I've always felt in the Midwest that the sky feels a little bit claustrophobic, but as soon as you get to like Tularosa, it just explodes, and that whole area up there in the plateau where you are is really lovely.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's like being closer to the sky.
Oh my God,
really,
absolutely.
Really.
So the photos I put up of you, it was basically just you and your sound setup. There's a gong behind you, some bowls around, and so I wanted to ask you how you got started, how long you've been working with sound as a healing modality or as a meditation tool, what your experience is there, and how you got to be Tree.
Well, it starts funny because before I've been connected to music all my life, but before I was a DJ.
Was this in Spain?
In Spain, yeah.
Was it DJ Tree?
No.
DJ Arbrol.
I was Siamese Scream because of the Siamese Dream of the Smashing Pumpkins.
I love that album so much. I'm so glad that you said that. It's one of my very favorite albums.
It's awesome. So I was not into music therapy or sound therapy at all. And this one day, after 1 year after doing Reiki, after starting my Reiki practice, I had this dream that I was getting into some sort of sound temple and they were putting a tuning fork on top of my head, and I was like, what is that? That actually is a thing. So I went real quick, the next day to the music store next to my house and I bought a tuning fork for the guitar. I put it on my head. I do not recommend to do it. That's horrible. That's like the only one thing that you should not do with a tuning fork.
What happened when you did this?
It makes you dizzy.
Oh, okay.
It makes you dizzy. It gives you headache. It's just you're not supposed to make your brain vibrate. Straight direct hit into your brain. No. But this got me into researching. So I ended up learning a full course in Madrid, in the capital of Spain, with 2 sound therapists that are very big in Spain, Rafa Monsonis and I'm not gonna remember now the name of the other one. If I'm talking in Spanish, I can't remember. But
you can switch over if you want. I can't go with you though.
They are Cuencos Tibetanos.fest. And that was wonderful. It was a period of 6 months of learning with them. Then I learned with another master, Diego Montenegro, who is linked with Don Conroe, the super gong master.
Nice.
And that was in 2011. So
wow, so you're coming up on your 10-year anniversary of all this.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you. Yes, it's definitely been a journey, and it's still a journey. It's always discovering something new.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that when I got into music that I really loved is I found that I was mastering a lot of just kind of day-to-day things pretty quickly, and that with music as you're developing, and even with meditation and the sound healing practices, that there's no end to it, that you could go as far or as deep or as wide as you like in any direction. And I really love that some people have chosen to work with the voice and with the tuning forks and doing toning, like you said. Some have really explored this kind of quartz realm, working with quartz bowls. I'm working a lot primarily with Himalayan singing bowls. But there's so many different facets to this. Is there one area that you've found that you gravitate towards particularly? I know this will change over time too, but even maybe today, if you were going to go out and play for Haoyi, is that right? Haoyi?
Yeah.
Her dog is so cute, by the way. I should have put a photo up. But if you go to her Instagram, she does these amazing videos with the dog and his tail excitedly playing the different singing bowls, and it absolutely makes my day every single time I see this.
Yeah, I have to do a new one of those. He also loves howling when we are playing. So
does he sing along?
Yeah, he does the sing along, totally.
That's amazing. So what's like a practice that you're working on now, or what do you feel most drawn to in this moment in time?
I've always been very drawn to Himalayan singing bowls and the gong. The gong came a little bit later. It used to scare me.
Oh yeah? Why?
My first interaction with a gong was very, very intense. I got sick.
Oh, wow, okay.
I was like for 2 days, I couldn't even move. I was with fever and problems with my stomach. Am I losing you? You're still there?
Nope, we're doing great.
Nope, you're great. So it was visually, it was very visual. The sound journey that I had for the very first time with a gong, it was so visual, and it was so much to integrate and to understand, and then so it took me some time to get along with a gong.
And now you're a gong ninja.
Yeah, I don't like using the word master. It feels to me like it brings a little bit of ego to the picture, at least for myself. I think it's perfectly fine if somebody else is using the word master and it doesn't affect them, but it does affect me, so I might say funny things like mustard and ketchup instead of master, or like ninja, things like that.
I find a lot of these titles, or these sort of honorific titles that we might give each other in the field to identify people's status or their level of training. I feel like a lot of them should come from the outside. I'm very weary of people who say like, well, I am a gong master. I would prefer if someone said like, oh, have you met this person? She's a gong master. Then you'd be like, okay, that's something that I can connect to. But it's I feel the same way with ESP a little bit. When people are like, oh, I'm a psychic. And it's like, yeah, I feel like you don't need to say that. Like, I feel like you just would be, or people would describe you that way. But to kind of own it in that way, I've always found very, very suspicious.
Yeah, totally. So, and the singing bowls themselves and the gong, they teach you about these things.
Absolutely, which kind of brings up what we were briefly touching on right before we hopped on the broadcast. Is Tree sent me these amazing photos from an interview, and I'm curious why you picked these photos, because the interview itself talks about the tools like the singing bowls as a teacher, and so I'd love to hear why we're going to look at this and what made you want to talk about that today.
So it's kind of fun. When I was in Spain, I purchased 2 singing bowls. One is a big one that I didn't bring here. This is the other one. This is a little one from Bodhisattva singing bowls.
Beautiful.
With a certificate of authenticity, because it's old. It has a very old inscription, and it was signed. The certificate was signed by Rain Gray. And I remember talking with, I believe her name is Shakti, from Bodhisattva.
Yeah, that was his wife.
Yeah, and I found the piece of interview, because that interview is not complete. Shakti told me about that. It's just one. It's like part 1 of the interview, not the whole thing. And it's the interview of Rain Gray, who is a person that he basically finds singing bowls in the Himalayas, right, and brings them to the United States, and he sells them. And he goes like in adventures to find them in families in Tibet or in Nepal. He's based in Nepal, I believe. And this interview shocked me, because it connected me with some of the visuals that I actually had through experiencing some journeys with the singing bowls. And I was like, oh wow, it's real.
Yeah.
It's totally real. The things that you can see with the singing bowls, it's connected to our collective memory, and you can totally tap into information.
Yeah. So I'm going to put those photos up here real quick. So this interview that Tree is talking about with Rain Gray is on Rain, this first part apparently. I didn't know there was more. I'll have to talk to him about that. I would love to have Rain on to interview at some point. These photos here are with Lama Lobsang Lesha, and they're from the 80s, I think 1989, and Rain goes over and they're interviewing both Lama Lesha and one of the other monastics in that area, talking about the history, the oral tradition of the singing bowls, how they relate to them as Buddhist monks. And so Tree, I've got the 3 photos here up, and I didn't notice all the bamboo in the background. This is really beautiful. But the interview is quite nice, getting into them talking about the singing bowls as a tool for a lesson from the Buddha, essentially a lesson in emptiness. And so I'm curious, how did you start, how did this type of information influence how you work with the bowls, maybe one-on-one in a private way, just in your own sessions, or how have you been inspired to learn from the bowls and from this information?
Well, there's a lot of very interesting things in this interview, which, as far as I know, is the only interview that is available out there with a Buddhist monk actually admitting that they were using singing bowls on monasteries. They won't say that publicly. And that is why I'm so excited. If you can find part 2 of that interview, that would be wonderful. I think it comes from a tape. So in this interview, they don't just talk about the practice, they also talk about even the manufacturers for the singing bowls, giving it some credit, making it real, that this is real, that the Buddhist monks were using these tools for meditation, maybe not that much for the purpose of healing itself, but just for the meditation, because the meditation itself brings that self-healing space, right?
Absolutely.
And they talk about the sets of bowls. and how it was. I believe it was on 7 sets of balls. Like the importance on how to work with 7 balls that go together. They don't talk about the tuning of the singing balls, which is something very important. This interview made me think that maybe that's something that we made up in Western tradition, trying to give the singing bowls a note and connect it to some organs or some chakras. They are not talking about chakras. They are not talking about different sounds. They are not talking about notes. There is no like la 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 in here. This is about meditation and using the singing bowls as a tool to reach shunya, the emptiness.
Yeah.
And like this, the enlightenment at the end. We tend to talk about enlightenment and nirvana as something that is like too far away and not reachable for us. When it's not like that. It's just like the beginning of a very long path.
Yeah, I think you landed on some amazing concepts there, and it's nice to hear another practitioner mention that. I think some of these, the lexicon, some of these information tying certain frequencies to certain pitches, to certain energy centers, to certain planetary bodies. I'm not sure, people are so vastly different. It seems overly reductionist to pigeonhole them that way, to say like this sea bowl will only ever be for your root chakra. Don't try to use it anywhere else. If you need heart healing, you're going to need an F, because I think people take for granted that the Himalayan system of tuning, the Vedic system of tuning for these bowls, and even superimposed with a Western system with our equal temperament, these are all muddled together in kind of a loose pile of notes. So I'm so glad to hear you say that, because I've always felt that way as well. So working with the emptiness of the bowl, I mean, as you do, so you must have a home meditation practice, I assume. Do you bring the singing bowls in with you when you meditate? Are you working with that journey?
I actually don't.
That's okay. Maybe the gong.
It makes me. It's hard to me to stay rooted while I'm playing.
Okay.
So for me, it's like a big exercise. I'm a person that I'm way too out there.
Ah, yeah.
So
you're in an expansive place. The whole Santa Fe is very out.
Right? Yeah. So I actually avoid using them every day. It's kind of weird.
No, it's not weird at all. Do you find that the sound has a more profound effect on you because you take breaks from it, as an example, and you find that balance between sound and silence, working with that duality?
That's it. And one of the most important things of the singing bowls or the gong or a sound healing session is the moments of silence. Those moments of silence is when we are integrating all the energetic work that has been happening through the sound. So everything is fractal in the universe, right? So you can put that on a bigger scale as well. So sometimes you might need even 1 month away from the singing bowl, from the gong and everything, to integrate what is been happening and what it's about to happen, and to have a fresh perspective. Right?
I think that's beautiful, and I've found in my own practice that I'm fortunate that the quality of the instruments that I'm using are really high, and that when I'm away from them, I miss them or I crave that sound. And it's important to also see like those attachments are part of this journey. Like you want to avoid the attachments, because attachment leads to negative associations or suffering in its own way. I think it's really beautiful that you landed there, trying to find that balance. Yeah, I think that's beautiful. You sent me another photo here, and it's I'm going to put it up on the screen. It looks like your fireplace with some Tibetan prayer flags and a lot of the Himalayan bowls here. Is this your collection?
Yeah, that's it. That's our little bowls.
Are these all of your bowls?
We have some new ones to, like, for example, this one. I don't think that one is in there. This one is different. This one is more of there is, I'm sure that you know, but probably some of the people that are listening to this video don't know. there's different types of singing bowls, and depending on the shape they have different names, even depending on which day they were made, if they were making them during a full moon or not. For example, a jambati bowl, it's a kind of bowl that is made by a group of people.
On the photo here that I have up, the Jambati bowl's on the bottom left. It's that big bowl in the corner that she has.
Yeah, that is a jambati. That one is new though.
Oh no, new bowls are great.
Did you use all singing bowls or new ones?
I have both. So my first set was an antique set that Rain actually helped me procure, and then the new set is also from Rain, but they're Jambati bowls now. So I'm using both.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, he finds incredible instruments. This will be good promotion for him too. He'll have to come on now and jam with me. So
we're talking, I didn't know that we were going to be talking about him. This is fun.
This is so great. So the bowl that you have there in your hand, is that an elephant bowl?
Elephant? I never heard the name for this.
Ah.
This one, I don't know if that's going to be able to be seen on here. It has an inscription.
Ooh, it's not quite catching it, but it looks like there's some Sanskrit that they etched in.
Yeah, it's Sanskrit.
Yeah.
This one is Sanskrit. On contraposition of this one, that it looks more like a Nepali inscription.
Mm-hmm.
And,
do you have a favorite? You don't have to tell me while they're sitting there. You can tell me later.
I mean, probably this one maybe.
Ooh. Do you have a wand nearby? Can we hear it?
It has. I didn't bring the mallet.
It's okay. You know what? I'm broadcasting from my office today, but because of shelter in place, I took all of my bowls home. So I was joking with a friend earlier how strange it is to do an interview with another sound practitioner, and I have no bowls around me, and I was like, well, maybe Tree will have some there.
Yeah, and I didn't bring the mallets, but I have them somewhere.
It's all right.
Oh.
It's a aesthetically very pleasing bowl.
I got this. It's funny that you were mentioning before the attachment to the singing bowls. That's something that happens, and I think that every sound practitioner has to go through it. I was totally attached to this one and the little one. I took them with me to the United Kingdom. I've played them in Stonehenge, in Glastonbury.
Oh my God! How did the bulls react in Stonehenge?
It was amazing. It was amazing. It was really amazing. All the birds came by. You can hear them. They're chirping like stronger, and that has happened to me also in the north of Spain. We have a lot of stone circles that are not that cool as Stonehenge. All right, they're like little stones. But we have our version of it, right? And I've played them in there as well, and I was attached. And then I felt that I had to get rid of that attachment to all material stuff, and I put them on sale, and absolutely no one bought them. And there was a lot of people interested, calling me every day, and I was actually selling them for cheaper than what I bought them. Because it was when I was coming here to the United States on vacations, and I ended up meeting my husband in here, and I stayed. Which with Cameron I do singing bowls as well now. Since 2017 we do it together.
Beautiful.
And I ended up having my parents shipping my singing bowls back from where they came from, because I bought them from California to ship them to Spain, and then from Spain they came to Oregon, and from Oregon to New Mexico. So they've been traveling all over the place.
Yeah.
But now I don't, since I put them in sale, I don't have that. It's like I got rid of that attachment to them.
Sure.
And that's something that is very important to do. Because then you see some practitioners that are like, don't touch my singing bowl. And I used to be that person. No, you're not allowed to touch my singing bowl with your dirty energy. That's you have to. They teach you. They teach you how to chill out and how to get rid, little by little, of your ego as a sound practitioner.
Sure. I have noticed I treat those instruments different from my orchestral instruments. So anything that I'm using with the orchestra, it's like it's always polished and clean. It's in the case. I'm very gentle and tender when I tenderly moving them. And then we're loading in for these sound baths, and I'm like throwing a gong in the truck, and you're like, it's fine. It's not that it's just a gong, but they don't need that same kind of delicacy. They're very robust, and they have such a strong spirit that I feel like it's okay. I'm not advocating, by the way, if that anyone abuses their instruments. Please take care of your instruments. But it is a different experience with them. They don't feel so fragile. They do have their own kind of. I mean, I wouldn't toss a baby in the back of a truck either. But it's not. I'm making it sound worse than it is. But when but your experience with them and the way that you interact with them is not so like. It's not like a $2 million Stradivarius violin. You're honoring that instrument, and you're honoring this connection and the lessons and the teaching, as they're a teacher, like we've mentioned, and we want to honor that. But there is something about it that's a lot more just authentic, I suppose. I don't know. Yeah, I feel like I'm not describing this well.
It's funny that you're mentioning this. The big singing bowl. I purchased 2 singing bowls from Body Shop, but the old one, which always sounded amazing, and a brand new one that was a Gembati, a big one, and I didn't like the sound. When it came, I unpackaged and I heard it, and I was like, this is terrible. I cannot, like, I feel like it's too new. It doesn't have maybe like the energy of being used.
Yeah.
So I took it to the woods, and like you heard that you have to put your stones and your crystals. This was back in the day. You have to put your crystals underneath the earth or on the current of a river to clean them from energies. I put that thing in the river without thinking of. Without thinking about the main physics of putting a big singing bowl on a river that is flowing big.
Oh yeah.
Basically, the singing bowl went down the river, and me running after that thing, being like no, just screaming down the forest, and it finally got stopped by 2 big rocks in a big bang that sounded in all the forest, and I was like, oh. I just destroyed that thing, and I took it outside of the river, got entirely wet, and when I hit it again with the mallet, the sound was so deep and so different. It was actually, now it has horrible marks, of the journey down the river, but the sound is amazing.
I think that's a beautiful example of what I was trying to explain is, you would never put a flute or a violin in a river, and there's something about these instruments, but you're doing it not out of negligence, you're doing it because there's something about the connection, something about bringing that tool to life and connecting with it, and that's what you were trying to achieve. And oh my God, I love that it worked out that way. That's so funny.
Yeah, I worked out that way too. Yeah, it was scary for a second. But definitely they need that connection to nature.
Yeah, and I found that too. So I'm incredibly jealous that you got to play at Stonehenge. I think that's such an insanely cool experience. And I saw too in northern New Mexico, there's like a salt cave or something that's supposed to be for sound, and it might be a man-made thing. But I have noticed when I play outdoors, one, I love meditating outside. I think there's a lot of beautiful opportunities there to connect and to use as focal points. But I have noticed that when you work with the bulls outdoors, a lot of nature tends to come in. Birds like to come, little rodent-y things, and it's always really nice to give that gift. And do you find when you're working outside in nature, are you trying to intentionally give the sound? Like, do you say, okay, trees, like, here you go, or does anything, I don't know, like, because, as tree...
Yeah, I've done that. I haven't been doing that recently that much in here. We did that in Oregon. My husband is over there. We did that, Cameron and I, when we were in Central Oregon a couple of times. We got with the singing bowls outside. We haven't been doing it that much in here, but definitely, yeah, it feels differently when you're outside with the singing bowls.
Have you noticed if maybe the bulls respond differently in different environments? Like, do the bulls react differently in Santa Fe than they would in Stonehenge, for example, or Spain?
I haven't noticed that. What I've noticed is that they react to temperature.
Yeah.
Like definitely, like in Oregon, we had trouble a couple of times. It was very cold in Oregon. We had like the snow apocalypse, and we were playing the singing bowl one day, and it was like impossible to make a good rimming sound at the singing bowl because they were, I don't know how to say it, like there was tension on the metal.
Yeah. I think because there's a lot of, this is one of the things I enjoy researching too, is not just the percussion side or the history, the culture, the technique, the bioenergy, but also the physics of it a lot of times, and even the acoustics of how we perceive sound. And I think there is something to be said about a cold plate of metal. If it's cold, it's hard to activate, and so you have to put in a lot more energy to get those molecules vibrating. And I would imagine that was the case. I'm always curious if they respond better at higher or lower altitude, because they came from the Himalayas. So like, do they sound better up high? Like, are they more comfortable at 12,000 feet as opposed to sea level? I have no idea.
That also depends, now as you're saying this, like, for example, the metals that are in this little old singing bowl are not the same ones that are in the new ones, right? Because they were using...
Yeah, the quality is different.
Right, material to make the singing bowl.
Yeah.
It's, I've seen that there's some people that they are saying that they were using the meteorite because of the connection with the sky. But if you really go in through the things, the tools that you can find in the Himalayas or in Tibet, they also make pans and like normal bowls for cooking out of meteorite.
Right.
So I don't think that was like the main intention, but it's wonderful that with more metals, the sound is definitely different.
Yeah.
I do find that difference. And they cannot do it now because some of those metals are like mercury. Like you cannot use those metals right now too.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I'm glad you touched on that. And that was something that they talked about a little bit in this interview that you mentioned as well. They went into a little bit of detail of the different caste systems in Asia that maybe would make what would a 9-head or a 7-headed bull, that you could help kind of identify what region or what time period. All of that I found really, really interesting. I'll have to track down the rest of that interview for you. I'll see if I can find it. So, did you have, as we're kind of getting close to the end here, I think, did you have any tips for anyone, any lessons of the day? Like, what is Tree's philosophy? Let me put this up real quick, because I think this is beautiful, if I can find this. I took a little snapshot of something from your Facebook, and so there's Tree in her, it was a post from February, and I'm going to read it for you if this is okay. It's a little bit vulnerable. I hope that's all right, but you're an authentic person. And
right.
And for those of you who don't know Tree, in addition to being a Reiki and a sound practitioner, she's a human being, first of all. But she does graphic design and some beautiful photography, and I love her Instagram because it has this really consistent and beautiful aesthetic of northern New Mexico. A lot of turquoise and pale pinks and kind of sandy desert tones. But I found this post on her Instagram that I absolutely love. And I'll make sure that I have it posted here for you. So, I should have had you read this because it's going to be my voice, but she's feeling strong, and she says, "I am a woman. I am not on earth to please men, to become a slave of society, or to be compliant. I am not obligated to have children. I am not obligated to be thin and perfect. I can choose not to wear makeup, dresses, and high heels. There's no job that I can't do because of my gender. I am equal." And it goes on in this way. And so I was about to ask you what the philosophy of Tree was, or if you had any tips or advice for maybe, as we're getting into shelter-in-place protocols, I think a lot of people are going to be facing new challenges in terms of how they handle stress and anxiety, how we interact with one another in this country, in this planet. And there's so many things here. I am on Earth to experience life, to make this a better world, to fix the past and upgrade the present. I am on Earth to inspire and to get inspired. So I love this post so much, Tree. I think this is a beautiful and a very authentic expression of your kind of mission and how you're integrating your experience on this human plane. And so thank you, first of all, for sharing that, because that's not an easy post, and not everyone is going to be receptive to that, but that's on them. But I would love to hear any Tree advice or philosophies that you want to share with us.
My advice right now, and this is something that maybe we could talk about in other interview, another future interview.
We could totally do this again.
It's about the connection with the voice and the dream state.
Ooh, okay.
Whether you have singing bowls at home or not, you have your own voice, and that's your main tool to use. And the frequencies that are generated by the singing bowls and the gong that we can replicate with our voice are sometimes the same that we can find on the rapid eye movement phase. And if you go to look at Fabien Maman, I think it's Fabien Maman. No, I'll look at the. Now I don't remember the name of.
This will all be posted to Facebook too, Tree. We can go back and add the names and things later.
Yeah, I'll put it later. But basically, is this French physicist that talks about the relationship between the rapid eye movement phase and how we connect during that moment with exploring the different possible timelines of the future. And that comes back to us as intuitions, as deja vus. So if there is a moment right now to work on that and get some feedback from your possible future timelines and how to address those situations, now that's the time. Just do some sound meditation before you go to sleep in that moment, so you can connect with those realities in which your quantum double is exploring the different possible timelines for the future. Because we need something right now is a little bit of guidance.
Yeah.
Especially on guidance not on what is gonna happen or when we're gonna get out of this lockdown, but on guidance on how to manage our emotions, how to maintain our patience, and how to stay put on our source and not get out of our path that we are following right now.
I think that's incredible. I've never heard the term quantum double before, and it's fantastic, and there's a lot of implications there to work with. I have a pretty active dream state, and I've been for the last 6 months or so kind of exploring how I connect with that other realm. And I hope we didn't lose Tree here. We might have lost her. If we did, that's okay. We'll give her a chance to pop back here, but we might have lost. Oh, there we go. Tree, are you still there? Oh, we got you.
Yes.
We got you. There's so much online traffic, it's hard to keep up.
Garnier Mallet. That's Jean-Pierre Garnier Mallet. That's I'll send you the name written down, but I think it's very important right now to use, if not singing bowls or gong, our own voice.
Yeah.
To find that guidance on how to go through all this without all going nuts.
Is there a practice in particular with your voice that you like to use, or is there something you could guide our viewers through? Something really entry level?
I do, but entry level, I don't know. I do overtone singing, so it's the.
Wow.
Two sounds at the same.
Yeah, and your voice is beautiful.
There's different
So are you working with...
There's different... And I mean, it took me months to get this.
Oh, yeah.
But if you don't have a practice, just focus on toning or doing Om and trying to make it go resonate in the cranium.
So you're not focusing so much on the quality of sound, but on the vibration and where you feel the vibration.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It doesn't need to sound good. It doesn't. It's just about how you make yourself vibrate on the inside. It's like in a singing bowl or a gong ring inside of yourself.
Ooh, I love it.
And this is like a cave. This is the perfect cavity, right?
So do you work through all energy centers, or do you try to just bring it into the crown because of this dream state?
There is a practice that goes into different centers, and this is an easy one that everybody can do. The different main vowels are connected with different parts of our body, and you can feel this at home when you are pronouncing them because they vibrate in a different area. So when you do oo, oo is the lowest and deepest sound that is gonna vibrate on your root chakra. O, that goes on the dantian. As you're saying, oh, you can feel that is resonating right around your navel. O, o. The next one would be A, that is in the solar plexus. Mm-hmm. And it is just, A makes vibrate your chest. And that wasn't happening with O or U. Next one is E. E is for the throat chakra. You're going to see that E, the sound E, is helping you with this part of your body. And the last one is E. But even for doing it, we like E. Kind of going up. And that makes you, that makes the sound resonate on your third eye. So one practice that is very interesting is to sing all those main notes with one breath to see for how long you can maintain that sound.
Beautiful.
The sound you can maintain longer, it means that you have a bigger amount of energy in that area, or that you're connected more with the chakras and the spiritual meaning of those sounds, right? Like, for example, for me, I can be doing the sound E for 24 hours non-stop or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It goes forever. And it's because I have too much. I talk too much. You can see. So you got too much energy in there. And for example, in the opposite, the sounds, the note that you cannot maintain for long, it's because you're lacking some energy in there. So focus. That sound and focus on doing the meditation on that specific sound.
I love it. I think that's fantastic.
U, O, A, E, I.
Fantastic. Yeah, and what's interesting is, it's a hard thing to face those areas that are lacking that energy. And I think a big part of the struggle that I'm hearing with people making this transition into the virtual realm, adjusting their practices or their work, is there's these 4 stages of learning, right? And we're in the second phase, which is consciously incompetent. And so we're all struggling to realize, like, oh my God, I have no idea how any of this works. And I think ECAM's actually doing pretty well. And that's a hard thing or a humbling thing that is so necessary to get past, is, if you're working on these syllables that Tree's recommending, or there's a book for this too that I had here in the office, by Tenzin Wingle. So he does more traditional Tibetan syllables as well, but then bringing in color and energy into different places, and they're beautiful practices, like Tree's saying. What was that?
And it comes with a CD. We're doing here publicity to everybody. I'm
glad you said that. If you're able to, I try to buy used books when I can. However, the pitfall is used books don't always come. They don't always come with the CD, and then the publisher wouldn't send me one. I think Tree's worried that she's losing us here, but I can hear you, Tree. You're doing fine. The point was that as you're working with these energies, it's a humbling experience, but to be okay and accept. We can hear you, Tree. We hear you, but we don't see you moving. But just to be humble and to accept that that's an area that needs some focus, and just spending some time there, and it'll slowly open up more and more, allowing you to dig deeper into those energy realms. Tree, we can hear you and see you. You're doing good. I wish I could. Maybe I should text her and let her know. If she comes back, I had one more question for her, but maybe that's what we got.
All right.
I was talking.
The universe. That is time.
we could see you kind of moving your eyes around.
All right.
Yeah. I think I had one more question, but I think just because of we're already kind of going into some time here, and we can probably wrap up if you like. I think that's a beautiful exercise, and you were recommending this before you go to bed at night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just to connect with, as I was saying, the quantum double and explore a little bit of that. The theory of the quantum double is called. Explore that on the internet and how it connects with sound.
I think that's fascinating. Last question. Very light, very easy. What are you reading now, or what are you watching now? What do you have going on? What's your recreational tree downtime, self-indulgent treat?
I'm doing immigration stuff. I have to renew my green card. This is not very recreational.
Yeah, no joke. Well, if you need a letter of recommendation, let me know.
Yeah, thank you. No, I'm not doing. My other job is I'm a graphic designer and photographer.
Yeah, your photos are beautiful.
Recreation, thank you. I have a couple of new clients, so
nice.
I'm looking forward to that free time that people are talking about.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting thing for the artists and for the introverts is that the world really didn't change. There's some inconveniences, and the collective energy is a little bit different. There's a little bit of an aggravated kind of vibe going, agitated vibe. And but other than that, it's like, oh, we're all just still meditating and taking photographs or creating music or art, and we just keep churning through. So, yeah. Any other closing remarks for us?
The Tao of the Sound. That's my book recommendation as well.
The Tao of the Sound.
The Tao of Sound.
Beautiful.
But yeah, it has some. You might like it. I have it upstairs. It has some research on the 80s about the sound, how it was affecting the cells before and after on the microscope and
beautiful.
Things like that. So,
yeah, I don't know this one. I'll have to look into this. I have a lot of texts in my library, but that's not one of them, and I love those connections. So, Tree, thank you so much for chatting with us. If you give me just a second, I'm going to put up a little bit more information. And everyone, thank you so much. And if you want, follow Tree. Instagram's the way to go because she's a brilliant photographer, and of course, as a graphic designer, so much of her work is visual and auditory as well because she's working with the sound. Also, her dog is crazy cute, and so it's so worth following just for that. But you can find her at Tree Stoddard, and yeah. So with that being said, let me just wrap up here. And I just want to thank everyone for joining me today. Just a quick, you can follow me here. This is my website down below, zenwithben.me for more information. I'm based here in Tempe. I'm doing a Patreon right now as well. So if you want to contribute, I'm trying to reach a new goal for subscribers. I'll send you meditation audio tracks and sound bath audio. And you can find me there at ZenWBen, so Zen with Ben on Patreon. Also, as we're making this transition into the virtual world, I'm doing some very light relaxation therapy sessions. There you can see in a virtual way over FaceTime, and we're trying to avoid Zoom because the bandwidth has not been super great. But again, thank you so much, everyone, for joining me today. We're looking forward to your comments and your reactions. If you have any other follow-up questions for either myself or Tree, drop them into the comment line, and we will get back to you. But everyone, have an amazing day, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.